Well, with Harry now in the UK, let's dissect why he won't be seeing his father and why there's certainly no meeting with his brother Prince William on this fleeting trip.
That's right. And Katie, we're talking all about the babies these last few weeks. Prince Archie turning 5. How did the Duke and Duchess of Sussex celebrate? We're going to let you know. Hello and welcome to Airs and Spares, the show where we bring you insight and opinion into the lives of two of the most famous royal couples on either side of the Atlantic. I'm Kinsey Schofield and I'll be bringing you updates on the Duke and Duchess of Sussex right here in California.
And I'm Katie Nicholl, and I'll have all the latest news from the Prince and Princess of Wales here in the UK. And talking of being here in the UK, Kinsey, I know you're over there and I'm here, as is Prince Harry. So it was always going to be an eventful visit. We've spoken on the show quite a bit about this 10th anniversary of the Invictus Games, which does feel like a big deal. It's a decade. It's a milestone. Of course, this is Harry's sort of legacy project, the thing that he, really defines himself by. And yet it sort of feels a little bit light in that we don't know yet which members of the royal family, if indeed any, are going to turn up at this service later on this afternoon at St. Paul's. But we do know, because we've been guided by Prince Harry's spokespeople, that he won't be meeting with his father. Now, before we get on to the subject of his brother, because I said to you last week, didn't I, that I thought it was very unlikely there'd be any meeting with William. It's all far too soon and too much resentment between the two brothers. But I did think, Kinsey, that Charles would make time, and I'm quite surprised that he hasn't. We know he's got a busy schedule. He had engagements at Buckingham Palace yesterday. He was seen coming to London from Windsor Castle, and he's obviously based here for the next 24 hours. We also know, reading between the lines and going back to that engagement that he did last week at the Macmillan Cancer Centre at UCH, that he was on his way then to treatment. So we know his treatment is at the start of the week. That could be a reason why there isn't time to meet. But given he's got a busy schedule, I think it's quite telling that not even 30 minutes has been scheduled into his diary for him to see his son. Particularly when I'm hearing from my sources that Charles very much wants to get time in with his son. He wants there to be something of a rapprochement, a reconciliation. And what do you think, Kinsey? Do you think it's a little bit strange that time hasn't been made? I mean, I think if you want to see someone, you always can make the time to see them.
I know, but I think you're going to agree with me here. I in defense of the King and Queen Camilla, first of all, when people are going through, when people are going through cancer treatment, their bodies are very vulnerable. Was Prince Harry just on a plane full of people? We don't know. Additionally, there was, if you'll recall, a back and forth as to whether or not Harry would actually commit to coming to this service because of, his concern about security. So had this been on the King's radar, as a definite visit, perhaps he could have made time for him. Perhaps his schedule would have been open. But because there was a lack of commitment from Harry's team as to whether or not he was going to officially be here over the last few weeks, I wonder if the King's team went ahead and filled his calendar under the impression that Prince Harry might not actually show up.
Well, I don't know, Kinsey. I'm not sure, because I think the King would absolutely have expected Harry to be here. I think the idea that there was going to be, in all the grandeur of St. Paul's, where of course his father was married all those years ago, that he wouldn't be at a 10th anniversary to commemorate the very games that he started, I think would be, that would just send out all the wrong signals, and I think have Harry over the front pages for all the wrong reasons. So I think it was always a dead cert that he was coming here. We know he's got enough money in deep pockets, not only to carry out the many legal suits he's carrying out, but certainly to pay for his own security while he's over here. And we've yet to see details of that security and whether any of it is Home Office approved security. Perhaps that's something we'll be discussing next week. But I think there was never a question mark over him coming here. Possibly there was a question mark in the King's mind as to whether he wanted to make time to see Prince Harry. I know that Harry sort of flew over on the first scheduled flight he could get when his father was first diagnosed with cancer, and Charles did make the time to see him. But given we don't know when Harry's going to be here next, I do think it's unusual that time hasn't been found. And maybe the schedule is just really very, very busy. And we know the King has been very keen to get back to work. Yes, he's back under the advice of his medical team. They've given him the green light, but they've also advised the king not to overpack his schedule. As you point out, there's all the issues of meeting too many people, his immunes may be low, and they frankly don't want to tire him out. The big event that we need to see the king at is Trooping the Colour, and that's not until June. So I think anyone sort of pushing the king or encouraging the king to go into a full head-on schedule would be unwise. I don't think that's what's happening. So I just think, reading between the lines, is there a bigger reason here why Harry's not seeing his dad? I mean, they're literally, yesterday, when Harry was at a sort of forum to promote and talk about the Invictus Games, there was something like 3 miles apart. And so I think it's very strange, actually, that they haven't been able to find time in Charles's diary for him to see his son, albeit fleetingly.
Well, I would stress that stateside, this totally plays into Prince Harry's victimhood narrative. The book Spare, I felt neglected, I was never loved enough, but just to counter that, the fact that it's Harry's spokesperson that says that Harry will not be seeing his father because his father's schedule is too busy, almost, in my mind, justifies the fact that the family wouldn't make time for him, because is there nothing sacred? Are there no secrets between them? Because I would hope that Harry wouldn't come out. It doesn't paint Charles in a very good light. So I think that the fact that it's Harry's team saying Harry will not be seeing his father because his father is not making himself available to Harry, almost in my mind, says, well, there you go. Why would I see you when I can't trust you with information?
Yeah, I suppose you're right. It does seem to all play into that victim narrative that does seem to be quite trademark now, I think, of Prince Harry. I think just on a personal note for him, it must be really hard being so close to his father yet not able to see him. He's not seen Charles or how he's doing. He'll have seen the same pictures that we've seen. Possibly there have been some video calls home. I'm sure they have, because I know that they are in contact. But, there's nothing like seeing someone in person. And I think as his father navigates such a tumultuous time, personally, and I suppose professionally, this hasn't been an easy time for the royal family by any stretch. I think it must be very disappointing for Prince Harry not to have time set aside for them to see each other. And as you say, the only comment we are getting, Kinsey, is through the Sussex's spokesperson, not through the palace, who I contacted earlier and was told we don't comment on anything about the Sussexes. So you're again seeing a real distancing there. And speaking of distance, nothing feels, I think, more distant than the relationship between William and Harry at the moment. I mean, the idea that, Harry wouldn't have the support of his brother at something as big as the 10th anniversary of the Invictus, 5-6 years ago, wouldn't have seemed possible. And yet, there is absolutely no chance that William is going to be at the ceremony at St. Paul's today. We've yet to see which royals may turn out. It would be nice for Harry to have some support from his family, whether that's Zara, Mike, or possibly Princess Eugenie, with whom he remains close. But that real great distance, and in all of this, these brothers who were once so close, now not on talking terms. And I think Harry must come back to Britain very much feeling like an outsider. He's not seeing his dad, he's not seeing his brother, he's not talking to his brother, he's not staying in the house that was his marital home, a wedding gift from the late Queen. He's going to be staying, we understand, in a hotel in Windsor. I'm sure that throws up some security issues, but it really does paint him very much as an outsider, don't you think?
I do. And, I do imagine that while he's sitting in that cold, lonely hotel room, there must be a bit of an ache in his chest, knowing that he is so close but so far to members of his family. This is, I guess, another heir. Do you think, I keep seeing these reports about Prince Andrew, and I'm sorry this isn't on our breakdown, but I am curious to know your take. Do you think that Prince Andrew would ever be instructed to move into Frogmore Cottage, because we're seeing all of these reports about how he's unable to financially keep up with Royal Lodge. And so to me, it does not seem like a downgrade. Frogmore Cottage has had so much recent renovation. And I wonder if, I don't think he'll ever be quote unquote evicted, but can you see that transition of him moving into Frogmore Cottage because he just can't afford the upkeep of Royal Lodge?
Well, Royal Lodge is a bigger property. I mean, and as you point out, Kinsey, Frogmore's had a lot of work done on it. It's apparently been made really beautiful by Harry and Meghan. And, you know, when you look at Meghan's style, I'm sure it is absolutely exquisite inside. Don't forget, of course, that Eugenie will have certainly had a good word to say about Frogmore, because she stayed there with her husband, Jack, and their children when Meghan and Harry were in America in those sort of early stages when the couple were still sort of considering coming back on a more regular basis and needing a home over here. I think it's possible. We know there's a big shake-up of all the royal residences happening at the moment. You know, the King is, amongst many things, looking at that royal property portfolio, working what assets work for whom. You know, Andrew's never been going to be coming back to live in central London at one of the Grace and Favour apartments here. He loves the Windsor estate. He rides regularly on the Windsor estate. So it's not out of the question. I just don't think anything has been decided yet. But, you know, clearly the running costs of Royal Lodge are high. It was always intended as a family home. And of course, it's not a family home anymore. Sarah stays there. Sarah Ferguson stays there when she's over in the UK. But of course, with Beatrice and Eugenie sort of now with their own families and in their own homes, there's no need for Andrew to have such a big roof over his head. So I'm sure it's being looked at.
All right, I am just going to quickly correct myself because I think I said heir instead of spare, and I know someone's going to correct me in the comments. So I'm correcting myself here, ladies and gentlemen. I did want to talk to you a little bit about Prince Archie. Sweet Prince Archie, he's a beautiful little boy from what we've seen of him. We get very little to no detail when it comes to Harry and Meghan's children. That is something that they kind of even the way that Prince Archie was born, it was all very secretive. So they've been secretive throughout, their children's lives. What we did get, almost a sneak peek in the Netflix docuseries, where you see them all surrounded by a tablet or a cell phone singing happy birthday to Archie. It's Prince Harry, Archie, and Meghan Markle's mother and Meghan Markle. And it was very sweet, very small and intimate party for Archie. Now, I'm not sure whether or not this was during the pandemic or when it was, what his age was. I do imagine that they've had some sort of celebration. Meghan loves entertaining. She's got a new Netflix show coming out about entertaining and friendship. Do you think it's interesting that we don't get regular updates or even photos of Harry's children the way we do Prince William's?
Yeah, I do. I mean, Archie and Lilibet are obviously not in line to the throne and in such close proximity as George and Charlotte. So I think the further down the pecking order you get, in a way, the less need there is for these children to have public profiles. Well, look at Zara and Mike's children, for example, Peter Phillips' children. They live very, very private lives below the radar. Obviously, Meghan and Harry have children who are a prince and a princess. There's a huge amount of interest in the family. I'm not entirely surprised that we haven't seen a picture released. I mean, we've not seen this couple return to social media really in any shape or form. I mean, obviously with Meghan's website, that's different. That's an enterprise. We've not seen them sort of back on that social media platform as a family. As you say, Kinsey, we sort of had sneak peeks at the children through the Netflix docuseries, but that's a while back now. So we haven't actually seen any recent sightings of Archie and Lilibet. Harry always said he thought he'd have a quieter life in California, that there'd be less interest. And, yes, he doesn't have the sort of same level of security he had here, but he is, I think, able to live that sort of below the radar life. There aren't perhaps shots of him and Meghan going about with their children, because I think people know how litigious the prince is. No one's really going to take that risk. So I think as far as Harry is concerned, this arrangement is working out very well for him. He and Meghan are able to raise their children out of the spotlight, within the privacy of their home, and they're living normal lives. And I think it's different in that we sort of have an expectation that we're going to see regular photographs of George, Charlotte and Louis, and we've seen two in recent weeks with Prince Louis's birthday, Princess Charlotte's birthday, and later this year we'll of course see George as he turns 11. There's an expectation. The Waleses know there's that expectation, and they're willing to accommodate it. And we've spoken before about how they do that in their own unique way, with Kate behind the lens and now putting those images out on social media and really being able to control that narrative. I think there's probably an element on Harry and Meghan's part, certainly on Harry's part, having grown up in the spotlight, having been exposed to that level of scrutiny and really hating it so much. I mean, there's a reason Harry hates the British media. They've been a part of his life for so long, chronicling absolutely everything. He doesn't want to expose his children to that. And, I can understand that. That is his absolute right. So there isn't the expectation in terms of public expectation, and there isn't the desire on Harry and Meghan's part. So I'm not surprised that we haven't seen Archie. It's a shame. As you say, he's a gorgeous little boy, and it'd be lovely to see him growing up. But given his own family, and I mean his own family over here, are not getting to see him grow up, there's no way that Harry and Meghan are going to want to give that insight or privilege to the media.
Yeah, I mean, I think that there's no doubt that those children are incredibly loved by Harry and Meghan. One thing I wanted to kind of talk to you about briefly is the trip to Nigeria coming up. I'm seeing that there's going to be a polo event. So Harry really is 100%, if true, leaning into polo, wondering if the Netflix cameras are going to follow them, because that would be great content for Netflix. And I don't know how much we went into it last week, although I know we dipped our toe into it. That is great, great visuals. Prince Harry in a foreign country playing polo. I mean, it really just totally paints him as an expert in the field. You're going to get those genuine moments. But I think I was puzzled by what they could be doing over there. Again, we're so tired of the faux royal tour title. Like, no, this is not fake. This is not many. This is not there. This is not a royal tour.
No, it's not. You're right, Kinsey. It's not a royal tour, but it's sort of shaping up to be quite an important tour, isn't it? I mean, you're right. There's sort of, Harry on a polo pony, if indeed that's going to happen, always makes, or certainly did always make, a front page story. And I think while this isn't a royal tour, and you're quite right to point that out, this is an invitation by the Nigerian government. They're being hosted by the Nigerian government. They're being looked after by the Nigerian military. And that's no small thing. And obviously a great privilege for them. There's clearly a sort of personal connection for Meghan, because she's got Nigerian heritage. And I think when a country like Nigeria is willing to roll out the red carpet for Harry and Meghan, what we will see is they'll take it. And you're absolutely right. They're going to take it for profile, for prestige, for opportunity, for new projects, for content, for all of those things. So yeah, I think this tour could get quite a bit of press attention, and I certainly think that's Harry and Meghan's intention.
Yeah, it's interesting because they loathe it, but they know when to take the opportunity, like you said, and seize it. That was a great way of putting it. Well, I look forward to catching up with you next week, because we're going to have so much more to talk about based on the amount we expect to see Prince Harry over the next few days.
Yeah, he's certainly going to be dominating headlines, Kinsey, and I think a lot of thought will have gone into this. So yeah, I'm sure it's going to be you taking the lead next week. I can't wait to see you.
Thank you so much. Make sure you like our video, share it with a friend, subscribe to us on YouTube. I'm Kinsey Schofield. Katie Nicholas, my favorite royal commentator in the world. I'm so lucky to talk to her every week.
Oh,
Thanks so much for watching.
Thank you.